Please summarize your chosen approach to family therapy.
Narrative therapy focuses on the way people view truth and reality while reframing the way a person interprets a situation. For instance, the emotions of anxiety and excitement. It could be regarding the same situation, it's just how a person perceives what they're feeling. Unlike the systemic way of thinking, which focuses on self-defeating behaviors, narrative therapy focuses on self-defeating cognitions, otherwise stated the way people think about themselves or a situation that has helped or that has happened that negatively impacts them. Narrative therapy uses stories for clients to retell their experiences and in order to reconstruct them in a more positive aspect to reduce the negative beliefs associated with that experience. Additionally, another important aspect of narrative therapy is the elimination of the use of labels or categories by the therapist to describe their clients.
How would you describe this approach in one sentence?
If I had to describe narrative therapy in one sentence, I would describe it as being true talk therapy that is giving people the opportunity to rewrite their experiences.
Can you describe any key interventions associated with this approach?
Some key interventions of narrative therapy include several variations of questions. For instance, externalizing conversation is one form of intervention that is used to separate the client from the problem. Therapists also use this intervention as a way to gain insight on the ways that the problem has affected the family rather than the cause of the problem. Another intervention used is relative influence questions that are used to identify how the problem has dominated the family versus how the family has been able to control it. Lastly, reauthoring is used as evidence that the person or family has had victories over the problem. This is also known as unique outcomes. Identifying times the person was able to actually overcome the problem without allowing it to dominate them or the situation, which is used as encouragement to the client to retell their new story.
Can you give a case example in which this approach proved to be useful and describe how it was useful?
A case study that I'm aware of narrative therapy that was proven to be useful was regarding husband and wife. According to the husband, Tim, he felt his wife was never satisfied. All she did was complain about the apartment and their furniture and her clothes. Nothing was ever good enough in his eyes, or that what he thought for her. No matter what they had, she wanted more. Kayla had no idea that her husband thought this of her, though. She was perfectly content with everything. The only thing that she wasn't content with was that every time she'd see a picture or a magazine or something beautiful, such as furniture or clothes, she would share that with her husband, Tim. She was just dreaming out loud, though, in her eyes. But to Tim, he was brought up to never ask for anything. So Kayla's fantasies felt like complaints to him. It wasn't so much that Kayla was saying was hurting Tim, but it was how he interpreted it. Looking deeper, it turned out that Tim was never satisfied with his own accomplishments. So growing up with a mother, Tim never received a lot of praise, and he dreamt of someday doing great things. Unfortunately, his own very real achievements never lived up to his fantasies. Other people praised him, but he secretly dreamed the grand and glorious dreams of childhood. Until he could begin to accept himself, it was hard for Tim to believe that anyone else could truly appreciate him. So trying to get him to understand and to change his behavior without addressing his controlling life story would be useless. Because no matter how many successes he has, he still finds ways to dismiss them and continue to dwell on his failures. And this rolled over into assuming his wife was dissatisfied as well.
What makes your chosen approach distinct from other approaches to family therapy?
The biggest difference of narrative therapy compared to other approaches is that it doesn't focus on behavior. Many therapies focus on ways to change behavior that impact people and their reactions. However, narrative therapy focuses on the way a person perceives the problem or perceives an experience. And this allows them to rewrite the story in a more positive light rather than actually taking steps to change a behavior that happened in a situation. So I would say that that is the biggest difference with this postmodern approach. And that is the end of my interview.